Welcome to The Fans Have Spoken. I'm here with Dennie, Kevin, and Robbie. This is our highlight episode of The Last Person Sent Home. The lovely broccoli Brad, man. He won us all over, and sadly he's gone, and I'm $100 poorer. But how are you guys feeling? I am wearing black today to mourn the loss of him.
I don't know if he won us all over.
Throw shade right away. You're like, no, screw Brad.
No. Yeah, I love him. I mean, you love him, Dennie.
I do.
I said so. Frank and Kylie and Trisha kindly had me on for the draft to start the season, and I said then that Brad looks like he sucks, and then through 3 episodes. You guys don't know me that well, but one of the things I love is when I'm right. And
whoa, are you right though? Because you can't use the word sucks. You can say sloppy, but if you suck, you don't get that many advantages.
When advantages are literally laying on the ground.
Listen, we're skipping way ahead. Can we at least start with like? Can we at least get some sort of chronological order going here? I mean,
don't blame me. That was Frank. He brought up the advantages portion.
I want to start.
That gave him
I'm just talking about his resume.
I want to start all the way back at the marooning, where we see the beautiful belly flop dive off the boat.
Yes, Don is preaching though right here. I just want to show Don some love. I'm with you. Don't do Brad like that.
Listen, Don. Brad did Brad like that. Brad did Brad like that. But go ahead, Robbie.
No, I was just giving a little brevity to the situation, I guess. I think, listen, I don't think that Brad had a snowball's chance in hell of coming out with the W in this season, but I am really thoroughly going to miss his character on this show. I mean, there was never every single clip from Brad, you're thinking, what the hell is going on? I think they started this season thinking it was going to be a normal season, and then they saw Brad, and then Jeff was like, you know what? This is a season like no other. We're gonna have to advertise this as a completely different season because we got a guy telling people who his targets are. We got a guy running down the beach to beat people to the well. We got a guy doing everything he can. And you know what? If you want to compare him to some people, let's compare him to JD, okay? You get a guy like JD on this season who seems to be doing everything he can to make the edit with his analogies and his crazy stories. And he's doing a lot of like kind of, stuff that he knows will make the cut. And then you got a guy like Brad, who I feel is like just being Brad.
He's just being Brad. Brad.
And that's even better.
Do you think that JD is doing stuff to make I feel like JD is being JD, but I think he's an awkward kid and he's just an awkward kid who doesn't know because he loves Survivor. Like I can feel he loves Survivor.
I agree. I think he loves it, but I think he's super self-aware. I think that's why he's going through this transformation in his personal life where he kind of is not going to be the ugly duckling anymore, and he's created this new persona. And I think he knows Survivor well enough to know what those producers are looking for in confessionals. And I do think he's there's probably 10 times more of the analogies he has, his crystal stories and stuff. There's probably 10 times the amount thrown at the producers so they can get all that stuff. And I think that's why we're seeing a lot of him because he knows how to deliver. But
I don't think he's an awkward kid. I just think he's a kid.
Yeah.
He just doesn't have.
Well said, Dennie.
Yeah. But back to Brad. From Brad's intro video, I loved him immediately.
Really?
Like you said, Robbie, I don't think he ever stood a chance to win the game. But just seeing who he is, where he's from, his work ethic. I love someone with a very strong work ethic. So he already won me over right there. But you could tell he was going to be a little awkward, Kevin. I would say Brad is awkward.
Okay.
But yeah, just going back all the way to episode 1, he was stirring the pot a little bit. He's definitely not self-aware.
Just a little bit. And you know what? And I think that's a great example where with the example I used of comparing JD to him a little bit with, how many edits we're getting of some of the interesting content that we're getting. And you have one scene where you get a guy like JD who's literally sitting on a log has his audience all facing the camera, and he's impersonating past survivors, right? And that's hilarious. It's obviously camp life and you're trying to bond with people, but having everybody stand there, face the camera, we're all kind of in a tight little group, it's going to make the cut. Compare that to Brad, who's just walking down the path, gets pulled into a meeting, kind of awkwardly wedges his way between the two girls and says, oh, what are you guys thinking? Well, I think it's got to be one of you two. Like, I don't think that was planned at all. I think that's just Brad being Brad. And yeah,
do you think that was the beginning of the end for him? Was that his downfall in the game, just being too open and out there? Because no, it was just
Brad's downfall was being there. Okay, Brad never stood a chance. Okay,
but I felt like I was blindsided. I was completely shocked by the blindside because for me, if I'm a mafia pastor, JD gave me his advantage. He lied to me. He's a 20-year-old liar. I'm never going to work with a 20-year-old liar. The guy that's told me every single thing, even when he was thinking about voting for me, and he doesn't have a vote right now, that's the guy I'm keeping around for sure. So I was blindsided.
So Frank, question for you. You play online games, right?
Yeah, I played a couple, was very successful, and then I quickly got out of that world.
You have two people in the game. One of them that literally told you to your face in front of other people that you should go. And then you have another one who has given you his vote and essentially pledged fealty to you.
Be honest, Frank.
Which one are you going to keep?
If the 20-year-old lied to me, if I played a game with a 19-year-old, but that's the reality.
No,
he
because
lied to her.
After he lied to her, he then pledged fealty to her for the rest of his life.
Yes, and gave her that advantage. And me being the iconic villain that I am, I'm going to make sure you're remembered in the history books of CBS as the person that gave me your advantage, and then I sent you home.
So you said being the iconic villain that you are?
Yeah,
do you
I'm an
see
iconic
Chantel as a villain?
I want her to be. I hope she is.
I don't think she wants to be.
She is.
I think she wants to be, but I don't know if she can be. I don't know if she's got what it takes anymore. Because I definitely think that was an emotional decision.
I don't think she ever had what it takes.
I think she has the logic, and I think she has the wherewithal and the understanding and the social awareness and the social intelligence to be able to pick up on where her position is. And not only that, where do all of the other people sit on the chessboard, and what are their powers? What are their advantages? Not just with actual advantages, but with the social network that they're all building. I think she's incredibly intelligent when it comes to being able to piece that together. I just don't think that she's going to interpret that information in a malicious manner, where I see somebody like a Ricard, who seems much more conniving. Devious is the right word. Yeah, I was saying conniving is not the right word. I think devious is the right word, where they can understand the information, they can grasp the same information, but the way they interpret it is different. And I think Shan is there to be strategic. I think she's there to be smart, and I think she's there to be powerful. But I don't think
she's not trying to do anything that makes her look like a bad person.
What
she looked at Sarah in the eyes and told her she was safe.
Yeah, I think
and then voted her ass out.
It doesn't mean she's going to lie. She's not going to not lie, right? Yeah. Because that's the game. But JD has literally come to her and giving her the advantage and explained how he is sorry for lying. And he gives her the advantage to show her that he wants her to trust him. Brad has given her nothing but information, but the information wasn't anything tangible, right? It wasn't.
The advantages, that's huge.
No, he didn't give them to her.
No, but he gave the information.
Yeah, but information is very powerful. I want all of the information, so I would definitely keep that guy in. He's going to tell me everything.
Information than advantages in the game,
she took care of the information and got him out. That's what she did.
Yeah, but I would want to keep receiving the information.
I also want to state, you can be a good person and be a villain, but the true villains in these games are the ones that they're just compartmentalizing emotion from game move, and they're always going with the game move. That's what makes a good villain, and I thought that was going to be her, because I know one of her great skills is she does have empathy, and she can read those emotions really well. Her EQ is really high. but I saw this episode. She didn't have what it takes to shut off that moral switch and go game bot and be that person.
Well, Frank, you're touching on it. I think there's one thing to be able to understand how somebody is feeling, and it's another thing to care, right? And you look at Ricard here, who I think he understands exactly how people are feeling. I just don't think he cares. Whereas, he has the empathy, like he has the ability to relate and understand, but he also has, the strategic acumen to put that aside. But you know what's really great?
I think it's called zero fucks.
And I want to throw this out there because this is about Brad. Brad had a lot of potential power, right? He had a lot of potential power, not just in his own game, but there were two people potentially on the other tribes, one on each, that would also have power if his idol was going to be brought into the game. And Shan was aware of this because Brad went to Shan. Did Brad go to Shan with the? Yeah, he did. He told Shan about the idol and his other advantage, right? That he has to get on the boat.
Both. He done both.
At the time, right? And anyway, so Shan in her mind must know if Brad gets his idol, two other people also get their idol, and we're not that far from merge, whether there's a swap or not. And there's a potential if Brad stays in the game, there are 3 idols out there, 3 that could screw you in a million different ways. And by getting rid of Brad, you get rid of all of those iterations of timelines that could snipe you. You know
Possible.
what I mean?
Yeah, we don't know that.
You also have the unknown of someone that you don't know has it, gets it. You're at a challenge. They say something, and you're like, "Well, fuck." Now JD has the idol, and he didn't even tell me he found that clue. He just activated this challenge. Something like that could happen. By keeping Brad,
At this point, though, okay, so once I've collected the information from you, I no longer need you, right? You're no longer a benefit to me.
Don't agree.
Once I have the information. So especially with this idol specifically, right? Because everyone has to say a weird catchphrase to let you know if somebody has it, right? You got to say, "Oh, go Power Rangers," broccoli. So with that being the case, if Brad is no longer there to say the broccoli phrase, then that means the idols can't become activated. Now, we don't know if she got to read the note, right? We don't know that. I would assume...
he read all the sentences out. I think she even read one.
Yeah, I think she was there while he was reading it.
I think he read them all out loud.
So if she knows that they all have to say the phrase, right? She is now aware that you just have to hear all 3 phrases, and she knows the 3 people that have the idol parchment. So
I think everyone's going to know that once soon. Everyone's going to know what the phrase is.
Correct. And so with that being the case, JD, if he were to get it and then not tell her again that he got a thing, then he's in trouble. But I don't think JD does that after what has happened now. And mind you, JD did not tell her about the extra vote. I wouldn't have told her about the extra vote either. Advantages are tough to trust people with, especially after at that point Jeff said they've been there for 7 days. So they just have to trust after 7 days that you're not going to know about the extra vote I got on day 3.
Yeah.
Look, I don't agree with telling people about your advantages either. Yeah. When Brad did that, I'm like, what are you doing? However, he did, and I disagree about getting the information and just being done with the person. I want continued information coming to me. I want to know everything that's going on in the game. Yeah. So you never know what's going to happen in the game. What twists and turns can come up. There could be a swap. We don't think there's a lot of people don't think there will be, but there could be. And this guy is in the game, wants to work with me, wants to give me all the information. Why would I not want to keep him? I wonder how much influence Ricard had on that vote. Maybe things that we didn't see because we know he didn't trust Brad at all.
That's what I was going to say. If it's going with Ricard and JD or Brad and Jeannie, I am picking the Ricard and JD side every time. Every single time.
I see what you're saying, Denny, and I think you're right in most occasions, but I think something that's powerful to differentiate between is having somebody that provides you with information is powerful, but having somebody who provides anybody and everybody with information can also be risky, where the clearest contrast on this particular tribe is whenever Shan hears something, she goes to Ricard. When Shan heard people mention Ricard's name, she went to him in the water and said, hey, here's what's going on. When Shan hears something about powers and idols, she goes to Ricard and says, hey, here's what's going on. When JD gets shady, Shan goes to Ricard and says, here's what's going on. But nothing that Ricard says seems to be coming out in other directions, where if you had to pick somebody who's giving you the information, that's one thing. But having Brad there, I don't know if you could trust Brad not to accidentally pull a Brad, if we can start using that phrase, and blurt something out not even knowing he shouldn't have said it.
Oh, I definitely think it's tricky. Like working with someone like that would definitely be tricky, to try to rein them in and keep them under control. But I wouldn't have cut him yet. I wouldn't have wanted him to go to the end with me.
Yeah.
No way.
Especially because tribal council, no one wants to go. And just at your last challenge, Brad was dominating that challenge. He was bringing that tribe back. Yeah. And I don't know why. Did you guys see it this way? But it looked like at the end they took him back out, put JD back in. Is that what you guys saw? Because I swear I saw that.
Yeah, I couldn't tell if that was part of an edit or if that was like if it was chronological order or not. I couldn't.
Yeah, I feel like once Brad was in, they kept him in. I know how the edit looked, but why would you go back? If Brad's landing them, why would you go back to the finger rolls that are missing? So that's just like not a good look if they did. It doesn't make sense.
Lamps work better with a backboard.
I don't know what JD was doing, but when Shan said something like "no NBA stuff,"
what he was trying to do was
killed me.
So Dennie, I don't know if you watch the NBA, but if you watch like a basketball team, if a guy gets like a little breakaway, he does like a little finger roll to try to like just put it into the basket, usually not using the backboard if possible. But JD does not quite have that acumen from what we saw.
Well, and it's sandbags.
Well,
they're not going to roll.
They're also sandbags.
It's physics. It's physics. You don't want, if you let go of the ball, like the bag like this, it's going to roll this way. So when it lands on something, it's going to continue to roll off. You want to put that bag up as high as possible so it's coming straight down, not spinning, and it just sticks.
Plus, if you do it the first time and you can make a complete ass of yourself, why try it again? It's not worth it for you, buddy.
He feel like he was making an ass of himself. He thought that it was just a bad shot, and so
he was following his crystal.
Go.
Yeah, elementary school tryouts is what it looked like, where it was just like miss. But I got a question for you guys. I want to know what your opinion is on this one, or if it seems too far fetched, because I do like the far fetched strategies a little bit. With a guy like Brad or that type of person who's unpredictable with information, would you consider, not necessarily trusting him with actual information, but knowing that he's a loose cannon, would you try to weaponize him? Because if you gave Brad a secret, like, hey, so-and-so's coming after so-and-so, true or not, or I heard this, or even a paranoia, I think I saw them walk over there and they didn't, it seemed like they were talking too long at the well or whatever. And would you try to weaponize his, frenetic kind of energy against other people, or is that too much of a risk that it might backfire? Because I
try to weaponize everybody.
Right?
I personally think that Brad doesn't have enough influence to have been weaponized, right? It's because even though he is a loose cannon, the only person following him is Genie, right? He turned against JD, even though JD kept him after the first vote. He turned against JD rather immediately. He said out loud, like we talked about earlier, told Shan and Sarah that he thinks she should vote one of them out because of their votes. He is not doing enough to garner people's sympathies and their trust in the game. So even if you have him paranoid and thinking that he's going to go for somebody, I mean, let's just take a vote here on this panel. Who would follow Brad if he's like pushing a vote?
I guess situational, I guess, but I don't. Yeah,
but just out of
I don't see him ever leading.
No, I guess just to clarify, I guess kind of what I'm getting at for another parallel in this season is if you were Evie, Liana, or Xander right now, and you saw how Tiffany just went bananas when she thought it might be her, and that's another example where if you kept Tiffany around and you felt like you were in danger, you could just tell Tiffany that you think you heard someone mentioning your name, or that group, I walked by at the well and I heard your name. I don't know what it was. You might want to go. and just watch them explode and make themselves a target. You know what I mean? Like, you see somebody like Tiffany, another person you can weaponize, make them paranoid, and then just watch. And
Tribe dynamics is interesting because you brought up Tiffany, and she is a very sporadic player, just like Brad. Out of the two of them, who would you guys rather align with? Because I'm definitely going with Brad over Tiffany, but we see Tiffany it seems like she's going to walk her way to the finals. That's what it looks like.
Please, God, no. No.
She's a Nora, right? Like, she's not going. She has extreme Nora energy. It's frantic, and it's all over the place, and it's not a winning gameplay. Just because you're in the end doesn't mean you won. I don't know if you guys watch Big Brother, but Derek F was never winning the game, ever, in this season of Big Brother. And you could bring him to the end because he was never going to win the game. Same thing with Tiffany. Tiffany, you're right, might be GOAT. Like, she has GOAT written all over her.
Yeah, but it's a GOAT I don't want on my screen at all.
unless the path to the end goes over a balance beam, I think she's pretty safe to make.
She
it.
did impress me. I will say, when I saw the challenge today or yesterday, I was like, she's gonna tiff this.
How many times have you watched it, Frank?
I only watched it once this week. Normally, I do watch it twice.
So I was like, fall.
Yeah, I expected her to fall wholeheartedly. She impressed you though, because she didn't.
Then she got across. Because I was thinking when I saw that, I was like, if you can't get across the balance beam, there's no shot in hell you have at making her across this.
Yeah, Frank, I think there's a difference between impressing and proving you wrong.
Yeah, I wasn't disappointed. I think those are the better words.
I'm impressed when someone proves me wrong because I'm right most of the time.
I can look at a dark cloud. I can look at a dark cloud and know it's gonna rain, and then when it doesn't rain, like, I'm proven wrong, but I'm not shocked and like.
Are you impressed, Robbie?
I'm not impressed. I'm not impressed by the cloud's ability not to have some precipitation. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think just proven wrong is one thing, but no, I had to eat crow. I posted online when I saw the little sneak peek that they posted yesterday before the episode. Hey, here's a 1 minute clip of the challenge. I saw the still frame of the layout of the rope walk over water, and I posted right away. I'm like, yeah, I bet you they're definitely happy they kept Tiffany now. And then I had to post right below that on our page. I'm like, well, listen, she showed up and rocked it, so give credit where credit's due.
I don't know if we're using the right terms. I don't know that she rocked it. She got through it.
Well, she didn't fall.
She did not fall.
She didn't fall. So there's that.
I really did
wanted
enjoy
her
this
to
challenge
fall.
all in all.
I did. I wanted her to fail. I wanted her to fail, and I wanted them to go back to tribal and vote her ass out.
I really want to talk about Dennie.
Dennie wanted them to regret voting out the doctor.
Yes.
That's what she wanted. She wanted them to be like, well, we messed up because now it justified their decisions, and we don't like it when their decisions are justified against what we like.
I have an interesting thing to mention about Voce's vote out. I listened to his interview with Rob from Rob Has a Podcast the next day after we recorded. Turns out Abraham was always going because he broke the flint the first day. He broke it the very first day, and he was a help, but he was more of a bumbling around in the way kind of guy. So that's why they voted him out. Him and Xander voted him out. I thought that was very interesting.
That's awesome.
As part of the reasoning.
Not for Abraham.
Not for Abraham, but that was...
That's a terrifying feeling, I bet. Day one, and you're like...
Yeah, crap.
Fuck.
Yeah. But you know what,
guys, Kevin, what would you have done? I would have been like... Whoop.
That's not negligible, right? That's not a negligible piece of information because, when you watch the episode, a lot of times you think that the women are concealing... a working arrangement there in that episode, but really the whole tribe is unified then if that's the case of what you're describing, if that's the case, but keep in mind, this is also one person's perspective of it. Right. So until we hear everybody's, maybe they just leveraged it, right? Maybe there was still that
possibly, but it sounded like that's why he was on board with him and Xander were on board.
Yeah.
With voting out. And then another thing that he mentioned in his exit interview, because I have not listened to Brad's yet, and I will have some things to say from Brad's, I'm sure. But another thing Voce said was that he had one thing we talked about last week was him not talking to Tiffany. Mm-hmm. And apparently him and Tiffany had a very good relationship. They considered each other island husband and wife. They slept next to each other. Things we don't see, right? But he said that in terms of game, she was not helping them win. And at that point, they were trying to win, which is why he was going for Tiffany. But from what we saw, it appeared as if, like you guys mentioned before, they didn't have any kind of a relationship before.
Yeah.
And so he thought that it was going to be Xander because he heard it was Xander and he just didn't tell Xander. He didn't mind. He was like, hey, as long as it's not me, that's fine. And then it flipped last minute to him, and he didn't know, obviously. But he apparently heard that rumorings that it was going to be Xander, and he wasn't going to stop it. So
yeah, which makes sense. I mean, you can't stop a wave like that,
right?
You know what I mean? It's gonna just stay out of the way, I guess. But yeah, and I think it looked like Xander knew that was coming too.
Yeah.
What besides being himself do you think he could have done differently to not have been voted out this early? Because the like I said, it was a blindside for me, Brad leaving. I was willing to bet two people $50 that he would make the merge. I didn't think he was going to win. I was confident he was going to be strong enough asset to his tribe to make the merge. What could he have done better to not wound up where he was?
You said other than just being himself, like what?
Other than just being Brad,
he
the character that we love.
Just take a chill pill, man. I mean, running to the well so you can spy and letting other people know that you're doing that, not smart. And then just running his lips too much. Like you want some information. You got to know when not to share certain things. I mean, he told Shan everything, which again, I think she's stupid for voting him out for that reason.
I'm not stupid. That's a lot, Dennie.
Come on.
I don't know. That was a dumb move.
Kevin, I think it was an emotional move.
I'm not saying she's stupid. I like her as a player, and I think she's actually really smart. I just don't think that was a smart move.
Cat's out the bag.
When we have Sean come back on after the season for a deep dive, we're going to have to leave Dennie.
We're going to stand back for a deep dive. We're going to have Dennie on there to tell her. She's like, so I heard Dennie think I'm stupid.
Listen, I didn't say she is stupid. I think the move was stupid. We'll see if I'm right or I'm wrong. I mean, as the season goes on. But yeah, he was just too wild. Like, if he just did what he does best, which is work hard, if he just did that, he might have been okay. But he was just all over the place, very scattered.
And Dennie, I mean, you just mentioned the work hard portion of it, and the amount of content that we got from Brad, like we had a lot. He had a lot of screen time, especially the last two episodes. He got a lot of screen time. We started with him running to the well in the previous episode before this one, and doing that whole shtick. And then this one, he finds two advantages, gets the boat, gets all the stuff.
Creates the dummy.
Creates the dummy. A lot of screen time, right? And you have to wonder, okay, what's not shown? And one of the things that I was wondering, which is going to be great, when we start getting more content from him after the show, the episode's been aired, is a lot of times when you have characters that come on that have that farmer mentality, they come on, they want to work hard, they wake up early, they're always, they're getting firewood, they're building, they're improving the shelter, they're doing all this, and they're almost ostracizing either themselves or the other people in a way of, separating my work ethic versus theirs. And there's like a bitterness or something that's, he's not necessarily a fan, or they're not necessarily a fan of the wake up, go sit on the beach, go lay in the sun. And you see the scene where JD is sitting on the log doing the impressions, which we already alluded to earlier. And Brad's really one of the only ones, or the only one who's not there.
The only one.
Right. And I think at that point, Shan was likely off doing a confessional, right, or using the washroom or something, because she was nowhere to be found, like anywhere. But other than Brad, everybody else was sitting on the log listening, or at least in that area. And Brad was like getting up to go get firewood and all this stuff. And it just, little things like that make me wonder, okay, are you not socially as included, you know what I mean, in the group? Maybe he's not. And we wouldn't see a lot of that because they already showed us so much content of Brad. If there was some, discontent, maybe they chose to give us the happy-go-lucky Brad edit and not the, come on guys, we gotta keep working. Come on guys, we gotta keep working cut. But yeah, I'm kind of curious to see what he thinks his social standing was in the group, because he just didn't seem, I don't know.
Yeah, like he was making connections with them.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah,
Well,
I didn't see him connecting with them.
Frank asked, what could Brad have done that was not related to who he was? And Robbie, I think there was nothing Brad could do, because he was always never going to be long for this world because of who he is. Like he said himself, he wakes up on the farm early and gets to work because there's chores that need to be done. And as you just mentioned, everyone was on the beach having a good time. And that's not who he is as a person, because he's like, there's work that needs to be done. Dennie, you have mentioned how you enjoyed his work ethic, right? He commented on JD being lazy, if you will, and not really helping out around camp. And it reminds me about, I believe it was, I can't remember the season, but we were talking about beach people versus shelter people. I feel like that was maybe Game Changers, maybe, I think it was Game Changer with Terry Dietz, right? When Dietz came back. They talked about those that were beach people and those that worked on the shelter. It was like an old school versus new school mentality. And we're playing a newer game, obviously. So we have a lot more beach people, right? But Brad is a shelter person. And if he's the only shelter person with 4 other beach people, then he can't help who he is. But he will always be out soon, which is why in our assessment I said that I don't think he's going long for this world, because I think he's a very nice man, right? But he was never really cut out for this game the way it's played now.
I think
that's just it.
I think there is something he could have done, and I think you guys each were kind of right on it. But I think if Brad would have just came into the game and not treated it like a game, if he would have treated it like an ice cream social / camping trip where he goes out here, builds a shelter, tries to connect with these people, and that's it, and didn't play the game at all, I think he would have easily made merge. He wouldn't have won, but he was never going to win.
But
someone needs to keep the firewood coming in, and someone needs to maintain that stuff.
Well, I think you can do that, and you can connect with people.
Exactly.
I think you can do both, but I think where he messed up was doing all the advantages, running and spying, telling people exactly who is voting for in front of them. I think if he just would have not played the game at all, like we're kind of seeing Genie do, I think he would be there still.
That's not who he is, though. Right? That's the biggest thing, is that I don't think the advantage part in telling he's telling Shan stuff because he trusts her, right? And Shan wasn't someone that actually trusted Brad, so it didn't matter. But the moves he made, if she was a real ally, because Genie heard all the things and going to spill it, right? He trusted Shan, and Shan wasn't someone that actually trusted him. So those weren't necessarily bad if you had chosen the right person. But Shan was never with him. Shan is a newer school player and doesn't care about his work ethic and how much firewood he's gathering. I mean, speaking, for example, on the other tribe, we have Sydney and what's his face?
Nasir,
yes. She said, we need to learn everything we can from Nasir. Let's keep him around. And then she's like, you know what? We don't need to learn anything from Nasir. We'll just get rid of him.
That guy.
Fuck that guy. Because at first, there's things you value and things you don't, right? And so I don't think Shan values Brad's work ethic and him doing the chores and getting stuff done. Nasir probably would. If him and Brad's on the same tribe, Nasir and Brad are working together.
And Abraham.
They're very similar. And Abraham.
I don't think that hindered him, though. I don't think working hard hindered him. I think the lack of connection with people and the overplaying the game is what was his downfall.
But him working hard makes him not look down, but question those that don't work hard, because that's who he is.
And listen, I do that every single day. I do that every single day at work. I look down on people who have a shit work ethic every single day. But you better believe if I ever get on Survivor, I'm going to work hard at the shelter, but I'm not gonna ostracize myself from the group. Like you said, Frank, there has to be a healthy balance. I'm gonna be looking down on them, but they're not gonna know that.
Yeah, exactly, Denny.
Yeah.
They don't need to know it. When I played Reelfoot, I collected and chopped more wood. I started more fires than everyone on my tribe combined. And there were moments where I was like, fuck these motherfuckers. I'm sick of these tools. Did I say that? No. Did I show that? No. I still was like, I love Carlos to death. He's trying. I get it. This is more my element. So I was understanding and empathetic, but I had moments where I was like, get the fuck over here and lift this shit. I'm tired. Yeah. This arm hurts.
Well, and I think where I disagree with you, Frank, is you're stating that Brad was trying to play too hard, and I think he was not playing at all. And yes, I know he ran to the well and he did these things, right? But I think that those were the exceptions, which is why they stood out so bad. Do you know what I mean?
That's coming from your level of gameplay, though.
Yeah,
you got to understand, Brad's ceiling is not that high. The way he plays is he's copying and pasting things he's seen on the show, trying to replicate them, and that's what he thinks game is.
That's
your
fair.
Game is independently thinking and coming up with the best strategy to move forward.
Like, I think if Brad was playing too hard, he would have just been shadowing everybody, coming into every conversation, pulling a Nick and being that like guy that like walks in all of a sudden to everybody's like that's playing too hard, I think. Like always trying to be there, trying to have a backup plan to a backup plan, splitting a vote when there's only like 3 votes. You know, like that's playing too hard. I think Brad's thing was he can't sit still. And that's just him. He just can't sit still. He can't sit on the log and listen to JD do his impressions, right? Because he's got to get up and do firewood. Because why the hell are we sitting here? The day just started. The fire's not going. We don't have any drinking water. We don't have anything to eat. We got to get some breadfruit. We have lists of shit to do. And you know what? Listen, I'm not going to nag at you. I'm going to let you go have your fun on the beach. Go have fun. I'm going to go do this shit. And because I know you all need it, and I'm not going to bitch and complain. I'm just going to get the job done because that's who I am. I'm Brad, and I'm going to smile, and I'm going to know at the end of the day, I busted my ass. I provided for this camp, and everybody else made social bonds. And when it was a 50-50 decision, he was fucked.
Yep.
I think that's how I look at it.
That he handled himself well when he took the boat over to the island with Sydney and Tiffany. I think he handled himself really well, the best out of the 3 of them, I think, in that situation.
I love the fact that Sydney does not like Tiffany and Tiffany does not like Sydney.
I love it.
The funniest thing. They are like, I do not like you.
and Sydney started the negotiation. Brad pretty much just straight up said, "Here's what I'm doing. I'm risking my vote. I'm taking it. I'm taking it." And Sydney said, "You're in trouble over there. You need your vote, so you might as well go for the tarp because there's no point in you risking your vote." And
she's right.
And those of us can get our advantage, which Tiffany could have made an alliance there and kept her vote. But instead, Tiffany was like, oh, yeah, but I don't know. And then Sydney changed her mind. It was like, well, I'm not saying that. And like Sydney came in heavy. And I don't
think Sydney was ever taking.
Yeah.
I don't think Sydney was ever taking the still vote.
At the very first sentence she said was something along the lines of like trying to impress upon Tiffany how much she needed to take the tarp and not risk her vote so that she could have the advantage. And then when Tiffany kind of said, no, I'm not sure. Then she said, well, I don't want to lose my vote either. I got to play it safe.
Didn't Tiffany say, when they're like, you need your vote? She's like, do I? Do I really? Yeah. Wasn't she kind of nonchalant? Like,
yeah, exactly.
I got shit on lock on my tribe.
Yeah.
They're like, well, we thought they'd want to get rid of you.
And then she says to her, she basically says, you take the tarp and get nothing, essentially.
Yeah.
And we'll get the steal votes.
Yeah. And then Tiffany
Ridiculous, because just tell her what you want her to think. Yeah. Don't tell her what you're actually doing. I don't know. That was ridiculous. I actually liked, Brad was smart and he ended up getting the advantage in that instance. He was smart. I'm not saying he was smart overall.
We did a little role play last night on the recap episode where Robbie was Sydney, I was Brad, and Jack from the Circle was Tiffany. And Robbie did what I think would have been hilarious to see happen on the real show, and that was I was Brad. I was like, we had Tiffany talking to Sydney over here saying, you need to work with me, and I'm like, I'm Brad. I don't really understand what you're doing with strategy. I'm going for the steal a vote, and Robbie's like, it was hilarious because he's like, you know what, guys, I'll just take the tarp. You guys get the steal. And we wrote it down on the paper, and Stan's like 3, 2, 1. And right before Stan did the reveal, I was like, Robbie's about to fuck us. Like, I knew it was coming. I saw the twinkle in his eye that we see on our game nights. And everyone put steal, and nobody got another. We got screwed.
Yeah, and listen, and
it would have been fun to see it play out like that.
I admitted in the recap, I said, listen, that wouldn't have been the smartest gameplay. I said, there's some advantage to it because you're screwing some people over and it's great TV and you're there, it's fun, but you're making an enemy, right? And Jack pointed out, like, why would you do that? You're making an enemy and Stan. Pretty much it was unanimous. And I said, yes, I get it. In retrospect, I wouldn't do that. But if I was Sydney, I would have pressured Tiffany to say, you need your vote. Let's work together and the two of us can have this power. You keep your vote, go for the tarp. And when we get back together, we can all work together. But there's like right now, there's like, we have the advantage. Like Tiffany had no power there and yet she took it, which is underrated. She did it so smoothly, and Tiffany could have taken that extra vote, the steal vote, and got it.
She remembers that in Final Tribal.
But
so in the comments, Don has made a very good point. That
I completely agree with Kevin.
Episode, no, not that part. The second one, because of course she agrees with me. Because how could she not? But the thing that was very interesting was that she said that this episode was the introduction of her not liking Sydney, and I feel like this episode was the introduction of her probable real villain in Sydney. Sydney did not get a very good edit. I think she's going to be how like when you watch a movie and sometimes you get like a villain in the first 30 minutes, but then there's like a villain that's set up for the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
I think Tiffany is our early villain. And I think that Sydney is our long-term villain for this game.
Yeah, I think you're half. I would half agree to that.
If we're throwing the word villain out loosely, if we're throwing the villain out loosely,
bad guy.
Yeah, that's fair. Villain, bad guy, sinister, whatever you want to throw it there.
Yeah.
I think Sydney's definitely gonna burn a lot of bridges really quickly. The what do you want to call it? The sneak peek of the next episode alluded to a lot of people thinking Tiffany's kind of Sydney's off her rocker a little bit. Mm-hmm. But I think Sydney, is can't keep any information in and is trying to impress on everybody so quickly that I'm trustworthy. I really like this person. I can't, like, so wishy-washy. It's like if Brad was Brad, but also felt offended by everybody. Right? And I feel like Sydney is as frantic as Brad is, but is feeling offended by everybody. Like, why would he tell me that he wants to take Danny out? I gotta go tell Danny. And then
I love that she did that.
Yeah, I think it's foolish. I think it's foolish that she did that. 100%. She should have kept that to herself.
Yeah, especially when you haven't even lost the immunity challenge. There's no reason. You should be kumbaya, get everyone together. Let's cook some s'mores, tell stories.
Well, Nasir's not kumbaya. He's already planning Danny's demise.
But after you see somebody try to confide in Sydney, and then you see Sydney immediately throw them under the bus. If you needed somebody, you really needed somebody, Sydney would not be the person you went to.
Oh, hell
because
no.
in the back of your mind, you're thinking, okay, shit. What if she talks to me like she did to Nasir? Okay, I promise. Of course I won't tell anybody. No, of course. This is 100%. I'm with you to the end. And then, like, when you see somebody throw someone under the bus when there's no need to, they're not going to tribal, that she doesn't need to save herself. She's doing it for fun to screw someone's game up, and that's it. Imagine if her back was against the wall, how fast she would screw people.
Okay, here's the thing, though. Think about back to the first episode.
Sure.
Nasir watched Danny and Deshaun look for an idol or something. He told Sydney and the girls, and Sydney went and told Deshaun then. Sydney's loyalty has been to the two of them from day one.
Yeah. And
so Nasir telling her this, it wasn't, I would never, if Sydney comes and tells me that day one and then tells me on day 6 or 7, that Nasir is basically still saying my name.
Yeah.
I don't think she's going to tell everybody stuff. I think she doesn't like Nasir, and I think that she likes me.
Well, she said it in front of everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just to turn everybody against Nasir. Like, it proves that she does not like Nasir. That's positive.
I think what it proves is she has no foresight and long game vision. And the reason why I say that is right in that moment, she had the information that other people didn't necessarily have. Which, I get it. They know Nasir's against those guys. It's fine, but they didn't know that Nasir said that last night. They didn't know Nasir was still heated. They didn't know Nasir was actively trying to build an army, right? And she had that information. You know now, should you be going to tribal, Nasir's not coming after you. And on top of that, if he gets a power, he gets an advantage, he's going to come tell you. Right now, you're his conduit to what he thinks is an alliance that's going to form eventually. And she threw all of that information that might have come in the past or in the future. That the guys were already against Nasir if they had to, and Nasir was already against the guys. Why not just keep that? And then if you lose, be like, you know what? Nasir woke me up last night and told me this. And then what would Nasir say? No, I woke you up 2 nights ago and said that.
Is that information more powerful right before a vote or now?
I think you use it when people are at their most paranoid, and it'll get the target off of you. And Nasir right now wasn't thinking at the time, wasn't thinking Sydney was anything but a trustworthy ally in that moment. Yeah. And now
Dennie doesn't want Nasir as an ally. She sees another group of people, and I think she's trying to give them currency to try and get into that clique. Sure. She wants into a certain group.
So here's the scenario. You go to tribal right now as a Luvu tribe. Everybody votes Nasir. Nasir knows he's screwed. He throws his shot in the dark in there. He's the only vote that's being cast. Would you not like to know for a fact he's not putting your name down? Right? Sydney would know for a fact Nasir's not going to put her name down.
Yeah, I don't even think like I said, they shouldn't even be talking strategy because they don't even see tribal in their near future. I don't think, unless something crazy happens.
There's no long term vision on what.
Isn't Nasir writing Sydney's name down?
What's that?
Is Nasir writing Sydney's name down, or is he going for Dennie in that situation?
If Nasir knows he's screwed and he tried to make something happen and he saw Sydney really embarrass him in front of everybody openly, then I could see him saying as a screw you vote, frig it, right? Although here's the thing, if he rolls his dice, he doesn't get a vote, does he?
He doesn't get a vote.
That's a good point. I screwed that up. Yeah.
But if he plays an idol, right? As an idol, and he
plays an idol. There you go. Same deal, right? But it's like, you want to make sure that one vote's not you.
I don't think it will still be Sydney. I think it will still be Dennie.
I think so too, and I don't want to see that.
No, I don't either. But I don't know that she is because I'm just playing out what you're saying, Robbie. Right? I'm just playing out what you're saying because I'm trying to be on the person that Sydney's talking to. I'm trying to think of myself as that person, right? Yeah. So if she's talking to me, I'm not thinking anything negative about her, and then I then think about Sydney's place. She wants to build trust with Dennie and Deshaun. That's who she obviously wants to run with because she told both of them information. Nasir wants to run with Sydney, but she has no actual interest in running with Nasir. Nasir sees Dennie and Deshaun as threats to his game because he said both those words openly. So even if an idol play is done, I don't see if I'm Sydney, Nasir coming for me, even if he's mad at me, right? Because you use an idol, I know what you're saying. You still hate me.
She's still not the most evil option or the most obvious target or whatever. But that's the thing. They're like people are assuming that phrase, all things being equal, right? That phrase, all things being equal, Dennie would still go home. But this is Survivor, and all things aren't always equal. The next day, all of a sudden, they could be swapped, and it could be her and Nasir on a tribe. And she just burned Nasir. Do you think Nasir's not going to flip? Like, damn well he would flip. You just burned him. He's not going to trust you now.
I think Sydney did just open warfare. I think Sydney just goes open warfare in that situation.
And I think she's going to bite her in the ass in this coming episode.
I don't think Nasir. Get him.
I don't think she goes home next. I think it's kind of a shadow because I think Nasir is probably one of the most obvious boots if they go to tribal right now, the Luvu tribe. But Sydney's is pretty much starting to pull the Brad where she's just showing all this information out there and it's valuable until you make a merge and you're worried, okay, well, who is she going to tell my information to?
Yeah, I think she better hope that Nasir doesn't go on a journey walk or a midnight shack decision because I think he will be like throwing her under the bus to the other people on the other tribe. But let's pull it back to Brad a little bit. One of the last things I want to get your opinion on is what was your highlight of Brad's game? What moment in the game won you over with Brad? Like, because I have a moment that to me is what I think makes him an iconic Survivor player is a move that he made that no one else has ever done. When you do something that no one else has ever done, it makes you iconic. Coach is iconic, and he wasn't good at the game.
Icon, what won you over? Nothing won me over, man. The best move he did, I will say, his best move was his challenge prowess. He was very good in challenges, and he was good at camp. I think those were good things. I think he was poor socially, but I think his challenge acumen and his camp abilities were a positive thing. Those things didn't win me over. Brad never won me over.
On an entertainment value, you weren't entertained by Brad.
Nah.
See, I was entertained.
I'm not here to watch characters.
Entertained.
I'm not here to watch characters. I don't care about Phillips. I don't care about Shambos. I don't care about Brad's.
See, I love a good coach.
I freaking love Coach.
I love a good character. I mean, I don't want them to win, but I think they're a part of society. I have friends, close friends that are characters, and you're never going to meet another person like them. They're unique, they're individual, and I think that's what makes people special is that spark of individuality.
Well, Denny, though. Okay, Denny, you said you love Coach, right? Would you not rather have a Tyson, though?
I love
someone that's good at strategy.
Tyson's a character too.
Tyson is a character too.
But he's also good at strategy. That's what I'm looking for. I want like a Tyson.
Yeah, right? You know what? I think this is one of many things that you could say is on a spectrum. I always like to use that analogy a little bit. I like Ricard's game, but if we had an entire cast of Ricards, people who talked real strong in confessionals but hid really well in person, it'd be a boring season. And if we had a whole cast of coaches or Brads, then it would be really great for about 4 episodes. And then you'd be like, I cannot handle this.
Yeah.
I need to watch it in slow motion, right? But I think Brad completely won me over from what I thought he was going to be. Somehow a guy who's as tall, as athletic, as dominating as he is in the challenges wasn't talked about in that way at all. Right? He wasn't looked at as this big, giant, physical, dominating threat and voted out because when he makes merge, he's going to win challenges, which he very well could have dominated in challenges after the merge. Do you know what I mean? Like, to be able to be that physical threat and not be talked about in that way, it really is just this unpredictability is what kind of people we're looking at. I got to give credit for that. There's some credit there to be able to be unassuming. But, I mean, if I got to say a move that I was most impressed by, it was the very small glimpse of strategizing that we got when he did tell Shan and Sarah, one of you have to go. A moment after that, he went to the well. Shan came there, and he didn't say anything awkward like, well, no, you're one of the ones that has to go. You and Sarah are kind of on your own island.
What I'm talking about.
Yeah, he welcomed Shan in, strategized, and started building alliance, even though just to her face said, you're one of the people that might have to go. A moment later, he was smart enough to say, I need numbers. Let's make a group. You know what I mean? Like, I know I said what I said, but let's get past that, as idiotic as it was or foolish. I think that, honestly, that moment really impressed me, where he could tell someone to their face, I want you to go out, and then make an alliance with them a moment later. I know Shan was desperate, so there's a little bit of a skewed aspect to that, but he still did it. So, credit where credit's due.
I just loved his presence. I mean, when he found that advantage, he was so giddy, like in his confessional. And I mean, he said he loves high risk. I'm like, this is not going to end well for you, buddy. He's like sitting there talking about how he loves high risk. Everything comes at a cost, just different things he was saying. And I'm like, oh gosh, this isn't going to end well for him. But like you, Frank, I was completely blindsided by him going home, because the way they set up Voce's vote out, like they highlighted him before he went out, and they highlighted JD last night. So that was a little mind fuckery that CBS played on us. But I did think it was going to be JD last night, and I was kind of hoping for that, just because I do think that Brad just brings some entertainment that no other cast member brings on this cast. Like, just to have a chaotic but likable person, because there's a lot of chaotic players that I'm like, get them out of here. I don't want them. But Brad, I wanted to see more. And he was finding advantages. I think it could have worked out maybe with Shan if she was open to working with him, someone feeding you the information. I think if Ricard was not on their tribe, I do think that we would still see Brad in the game. I think it's Ricard who really did not want him in the game. But I just think, like, how can you not like Brad? He is, he's kind of awkward, but he's like a goofball. And if I was on the season, I would want to work with him to an extent, but I would have to rein him in. And I think how I would do that is just, he's not out there making the connections. I'm going to force the connection. So how can I connect with him and tell him stories about my life that he might be able to relate to, pull him in that way. That way I feel like he's only giving me the information, and maybe like, I feel like I could tell him, yo, you got to settle your britches a little bit here, buddy. Yeah. But he's so entertaining that it's like, I'm going to miss him next week. Now, I said I'm going to miss Voce, and I do still miss him. But Brad is just, there's no player like him. So Frank, I agree with you. Like, it's so good having a character on the season, and I don't see another character like that on this season.
And Frank, I know you're going to wrap up the question and kind of give us your highlight, but before you do, I just want to say one last thing of what I really was impressed by, and it came to me while Dennie was speaking there, was we've had a lot of moments in this season where we've had the empathy stories, the background stories, the growing up stories, the family stories, all that stuff to try to really make us, care and feel connected to these people that are on the season. But I had a moment when Brad was trying to say his broccoli phrase.
Oh my God.
Where, listen, I, as confident as I feel that I could stand there and have all the camera crew out on a floating platform in the middle of the ocean in Fiji and confidently say that I just realized that broccoli is really just little trees. I related to him so much when he was stumbling just for that second. You could feel the nerves. He didn't feel like some movie character on TV. He felt like a guy who was living his dream in Survivor, had to say a phrase in front of everybody, who had a little bit of stage fright. I don't have stage fright, but I can relate. When I was younger, I did, I guess. But I related to him so much more as a human being when he was stumbling over those words. And that, like, right there, I was like, man, like, that guy's living a dream right now. And that, like, thinking back to that moment kind of makes me feel a little more crushed that, he did.
Yeah, because I think we all wanted to see him try it again and again and again. We wanted that as viewers.
I didn't want that.
Kevin's like,
not want
I
that.
did.
Fuck that guy, okay?
You're an anomaly.
I love that we knew, obviously you could tell he was nervous.
Yes.
Jeff was talking and he went for it. And I love that he went for it. And you could tell, he was nervous, but he still went for it. And he said afterwards that he fucked it up, but
I did. I also loved that Xander, when they were the last two of those platforms, he was like, "Hey, I love the thing you said right there, man."
Yeah.
And he's like, "No, I got you."
Yeah, and I wanted to see how that progressed, but now we'll never know.
Xander did really well delivering it the second time flawlessly. But my favorite Brad moment, I think, out of everything was when we saw him leave to get on the boat at nighttime. And he
thought you were going to say when you saw him leave.
Yes.
No, when we saw him make the dummy decoy.
Yeah.
Broccoli Brad 2.0 laying on the beach. I loved it. I was like, because I wouldn't have thought of that. And I think of myself as a pretty intelligent, savvy player. I would have been like, acted like I was going to go pee or take a dump, and I would have just ran off to the boat.
Nice save there, Frank. Nice save. Real subtle.
Yeah.
I know. I loved it too, because if people are waking up in the night and they look over, I would be. I wake up several times in the night. So if I look over and I only see a certain number of people, I'm going to wonder where that other person is. So I think, yeah, that was brilliant on his part.
Yeah, I think by day 6, I'm just trying to sleep. I don't give a shit. You guys want to be up looking for idols? Go fucking, help yourself.
Yeah, you would put your hand in holes and
as long as you're not waking me up, striking a flint, or doing some crazy shit. Like, this is day 6. I haven't slept in 5 nights. Have at it.
Yeah.
Like, have at it. Let me sleep.
And not just that, the tree notches with things that live in them, and there's things that live under rocks at night. You can't see anything because it's pitch black. If you're about that life, have fun.
It's like noodling, right? Like they're going for catfish. Well, except reverse. Instead of putting your hand in and a catfish is going to eat you, it's like, well, I see a tree, a hole in it. I'm just going to shove my hand in there, root around a whole bunch. And there's no spiders or anything. I mean, that's why you see the people who are thinking next level use a stick and they kind of there first.
They're everywhere. Anyways, I thought I was being safe when I was on RealTEA, and I looked down in the fire and I saw a spider. When I was putting wood in, I saw a spider fall down on the coal and kind of shrivel up. But it was on the coal that wasn't really hot. It killed the spider, so I got a stick and I pulled it out. And this thing was a black widow spider, and it was just on the piece of wood I was holding. And I did everything I could to be safe because I was terrified of snakes and spiders. So there's nothing you can do. So you might as well just dig on in there. Your odds of finding it.
The moral of that story, Frank, is that you killed a spider, and now the internet knows you did that on purpose, intentionally. That you're just cruel and a heartless human being. And
Frank did that he did that thing, man. That was him.
Well, he said he's
bring off, Robbie. Bring off.
It came at me. It was self-defense. But I think that about wraps it up. Like I said, most of us are sad we won't get any more Brad. Who do we think is going to be here next week?
Dennie, go first. Say it. You know you want to.
Why? You think I'm going to say Tiffany?
Yeah, I do.
I would love for it to be Tiffany, but I don't know. I mean, are they going to throw a challenge? I just don't know. Skip me. I'll come back to me.
Then I'll say it. Tiffany. I think Tiffany will be the next one here. She is so crazy. And I think that all of the, not bad people, but like there's a few people, like I thought Holly would be here sooner. Holly, I forgot her name. I'm sure she was named that. I don't never know. Heather, right? I think she'll be here sooner than we thought. I thought so, but Sydney has a hard one for Nasir, and I think that happens before anything else. So I'm gonna say Tiffany because I don't think they throw a challenge. I think Danny's like, guys, we can't do that. There's only 6 of us.
Yeah, I've really been hoping that one time this season we would have one tribe win, 2 tribes go to tribal. And I'm going to keep harping on that. I hope we see it because that's really exciting, especially when, 2 or 3 people from the tribes are going to get to go mingle on an island and try to strategize and then trust that they're going to go back and send the right message and then all go to tribal together. I think that'd be a hell of an episode. But because we saw Nasir get in so much trouble in this episode, but then they kind of shadowed it behind Sydney's, apparent craziness coming up in the upcoming episode. I think Nasir is going, but they want us to doubt it. I think Nasir has dug too big of a hole at this point.
Speaking of what you just said, though, if they go to one tribal, they vote out 2 people, right? If Blue Tribe and Yellow Tribe go, do they have the numbers? Because there's 4 of them left. Could you just tell them we're voting Nasir?
That's a perfect example. So you got Deshaun's already met with Evie, right?
Yeah.
Evie's trying to make a relationship with Deshaun. Deshaun and Danny want Nasir to go. Evie might use it as an example of proving trust because they're without the numbers right now in that example. And it's like, wait a minute, you want one of your tribe to go? Yes. And the cherry on top, it's a big, strong guy. The people we've been voting out the whole time. Let's do it. I could see that. Man, I hope that happens because I would love
to see that because he's coming for my boy, and I'm not down with that. I want Nasir to go.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like I would love to see, because of who he is and the story he has. I would love to have seen Nasir go really far because of the fact that, you know, overcoming what a lot of these castaways have in their lives can't be understated. And I know we kind of shrug it off like it's a TV show, but you know, that guy's been through some crazy stuff and he is on a show with a chance to win $1 million right now. And I would love to see somebody fight all the way through it and make it and just change their entire life, like their life and their family's lives. And like, that's a huge underdog story for me. I just think he's screwed though.
I think there's a lot of underdog stories though. We've seen a lot of these people have grown up, you know, with tough living situations. And, you know, you have Ricard, he's been through some shit. You got people who've been through some shit and just
he's going through
everyone
shit.
Has a story. Everyone has a story. You can't really weigh like whose story is more painful than someone else's. So no matter what, I think we get an underdog winner this season because they have let us in on their backstories. I'm going with Nasir because that's who I want to go next. Believe it or not, Kevin, as much as I want Tiffany to fall on her ass, Nasir's coming for my boy. He's got to go.
So I'm going to give a real out there answer that's highly unlikely unless one thing happens. And I think
I'm leaving if you say Shan. I'm leaving.
No.
I'm leaving if you say Dennie.
That's it.
Here's what I think would be, I think this would be interesting to happen. If it happens, I become awesome and legendary and I get to play this clip back.
More than you already are, Frank. Come on,
more than I already am. But
don't say it.
I think there might be one immunity. 2 tribes go to the same tribal council, vote out 1 player. I think green tribe will win. And then I think yellow and blue go to tribal. And I think Nasir jumps ship with yellow. I think Erica decides to go with them too, maybe. And then they fake the go to Danny, and then Deshaun goes home. That's my out there take. I don't. It's a long shot.
Listen, that's heavy, but there's a path to that happening.
There's a path to that happening,
and that's why maybe Sydney. Maybe that's why Sydney is getting so pissed because there's a women's alliance and she doesn't want to be a part of it.
Frank just said, "I'm going to set up 17 pans. I'm going to throw this ball off each pan. It's going to ping pong in and then fall in this cup." He just told me that based on that whole strategy he just laid out.
Yeah.
If you can do it, let's see it. I doubt it happens. That's a lot. It's a lot. Especially with Deshaun being the one to go with the Danny fake. Listen, if that hits, then let me know who I need to do a 10-team parlay for in the next next hockey night, and I'll get that done.
Yeah, you know what though, Frank? I'm upset. I'm upset because you won up to my call that it's going to be a 2 tribes, 1 tribal.
Yeah.
But, you know,
yeah, he did.
You
he
can
did.
have
he
it.
said,
If you hit it, it's yours.
He said, I like what Robbie said, but I'm going to also then zig for and zag with Deshaun. That's a lot.
Yeah, I did a single game. I did a single game bet on the spread, and he's like, "No, I'm doing a 10-team parlay."
I'm doing a 10-teamer.
Yeah, that's way friggin' out there.
Starting with yours, and then I'm gonna.
I like what you said, right? Yep. You said the Canucks, but I'm going to take the Canucks and the Flames and the Ducks and the Kings and the Panthers. I'm taking them all. I'm just doing all of them. Yeah. And it's all going to hit. And if that hits, let me know what 10 teams I need to put together.
If it doesn't hit, it doesn't hit. But if it hits, my stock just went up quite a bit. And I'm redeemed from the Brad. Boy. From the Brad mistake. That can be washed away.
You'll never be redeemed from the Brad. You'll never live. Well, listen, I loved having Brad in the season. And Kevin, I think it's the only thing you and I have disagreed on in this entire episode, which is crazy. But I loved having Brad there. Yeah,
this episode.
Yeah,
we disagree every episode. But this one,
no, I mean you're wrong about 90% of the other things you say, but this episode was you and I were pretty bang on.
Yeah. No, you're right. We did disagree on this, but I'm right once again. I mean, just ask Don in the comments. And it's it's
100% of the viewership of this episode. Kevin has won over with his words.
Yes,
so.
That's true. That is true.
Thank you, everyone in the crowd.
You get the viewer crown.
But I think he was a likable character, right? People like the Phillips. They like the Shambos. They like the coaches, right? But I want a Tyson. I want a Tony, right? Give me someone that's going to be crazy, but is also going to have good strategy too. Because you can't.
Tell Jeff to call me. I'm waiting. Tell him to call.
Oh, Jesus.
He doesn't know how iconic you are. He hasn't watched Real yet, but it's
a little bit of shade there, a little bit.
That was he was preaching. I thought that was preaching. I was told by an alumni that I was the most iconic Real Foot player ever. I mean, I know that seemed pretty impressive for the boot
Which
that I got.
Which alumni was this?
How much are you paying them? And
it
I'm for hire?
Was it who?
Was it Shambo? Was it?
No, not alumni from CBS. Alumni from Real Foot.
Was it Shambo?
Was it Red and Hands? Like, who told you that you played well? Like, that was it.
Hands has told me that I play well, but I don't really listen to anything else he says. He was spot on about a couple things his whole life, and it was that the three people, 3 out of the 4 people in this room are legends at Survivors. Some of the things that he said, but that's the only time he's been right.
You know what's funny though? Listen, you made a good point, Kevin, and I know we got to wrap this up. But having the Tonys and the Tysons and all that are great, and I cheer for them more than most of anybody else who plays. Honestly, you're naming some of my favorite players, but they don't necessarily shine until like now and further into the game. If they come out too early. A lot of times we don't really know how good they are until merge and until, stuff gets real. But the Phillips, they happen day one.
Yeah,
the Brads, they happen day one.
Early
and if anything,
and often.
If anything, these are the people that we need to get us to the Tonys, to get us to the, yeah. So, no.
Yeah, I have friends who've never watched Survivor before, and I got them to start watching this season, and all they talked about is Brad. So... I mean, he's being talked about, whether it's positive or negative.
Denny's friends have it. That's it, folks.
All publicity is good publicity, I guess.
Yeah. Speaking of publicity, is there anything you guys want to plug? Man, that was good right there.
That was good. So take a listen to the Top 5 Go podcast. It is a podcast that I host with a couple of my friends. We do top 5 lists. This past week's episode, though, was not a top 5 episode. It was a more serious episode. So some of you guys don't know, I was at the Route 91 festival the year that there was the Las Vegas massacre, and this week I had on a good friend of mine, Kayleen Wheeler, and she told her story, a firsthand account of what happened and how where we separated and where she went. It's about a half hour, some powerful stuff. Listen to that. Next week, we'll get back to the silly on the Top 5 Go podcast, but this week, that's what we got on there. And if you go back to this time last year, you'll hear my firsthand account of what happened that night for me.
That's powerful. That's awesome. Yeah, check that out. You guys got anything coming up?
I got nothing. Kevin, I want you to send me that link so I can be sure to tune in.
Yes, you can find that in the links. We'll also put that in the links for this. If you guys like live reality games, sadly you have to become a Patreon to watch it. This year is the first year Mayhem Manor is doing it Patreon exclusive, but for $5 a month, you can view my season coming up this weekend, and you can also vote for me to get a special Monstars power. There's 45 other lovely cast members that you can vote for, but your boy right here would really appreciate a little extra power. I don't get paid for this, so at least I can plug it a little bit at the end. But thank you guys for joining. Be sure to like and subscribe, and you guys can catch us here next week. Same place, same time.